Good morning. Welcome to the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. I'm your host, Harvey Fried, and my co-host, the best, the wonderful Becky Alley.
What is going on? We survived Snowmageddon number 40 or 3. Really, this is number 3. I was going to say 47, but really it was just the third big one we've had. And I'm happy to be here, everyone.
Yeah, I don't know how it is down there, Beck. I know you come up from the southern part.
Down there, living in a van down by the river.
Down near that river, the Detroit River or the Lake Erie, by the way. But anyways, thanks for coming up. And we got some great guests, of course. And thanks for everyone for listening. Stacey Taylor, Quest Realty. Good morning, Stacey.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
You're bringing this handsome guy over here, Justin Bankston, Fidelity National Title. Good morning, Justin.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on this morning.
Justin's a stud of title.
He really is.
Yeah, he is.
He really is. And there's a lot of great people out there, but to separate the best, the cream of the crop, Becky, it's so important. Stacey was talking about it earlier, putting this great team together when you're going to go buy a house.
It matters. We say this quite often, but because if we pick up, if one person hears it that didn't hear it last week, it's important because time and time again, we come across where people did not have the right team in place, or they wanted to see the house before they had their credit pulled, and now they're all working backwards. And, you find it, especially when we're the second or third phone call in, right? And then we end up having to be the last, which will take that. But the sooner you start the conversations and come up with that game plan, that's when you're going to set yourself really up for success.
Oh, I agree. And I would say, like last weekend, I had a situation with multiple offers on a listing, and about half of the loan officers reached out to me. We had great dialogue. A couple of them didn't. They didn't return my calls. And you can't feel confident taking one of those offers. So again, who you have in place matters. From title to mortgage to your realtor, all of it matters.
We always say answer your phone. It's sort of how I hooked up again with Justin. He came on the show a while ago, and then all of a sudden I get an email from Fidelity National Title, of course, a well-known entity here in Michigan, all across the United States,
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
And it was just great timing. And then all of a sudden I had a for sale by owner on my desk, and no offense to all the realtors out there, it was a family deal internally, and boom, I send you the transaction. You were fantastic, and it made it so smooth for everyone. And again, add the title guy into this mix, Becky. You got appraisers out there. There's a whole bunch of people involved when you're buying a house.
When you're what you're describing. So Justin is really the best of the best. He's one of the few title agents. And again, we have great relationships with a lot of title people. But when you can come across someone that's going to get into the trenches with you, they're going to actually answer their phone. They're showing up. They're being sponsors. They're actually there physically, walking around, meeting you, talking with you, and they're answering their phone all the time. I have never had one bad moment with Justin. No matter however, I don't care if it's been a year since I saw your pretty face, but we're still working and stuff, or if it's been 5 minutes, it's always, you're constantly consistent doing the things. And what Harvey's describing is absolutely true. When you have a for sale by owner or even a refinance, that attention to detail really is the difference between a make it or break it situation, because there's so many things that in title that you guys can uncover that can really blow things up at the 11th hour.
We're the start and the finish of the transaction. So it's important. We have to start it strong and we have to finish it strong. We're the first and last impression with your client.
Yep.
That is 1,000%.
Well, and I would even take that a step further. I have a couple files right now, some sellers that I know there are some issues, and I've already been in contact with Fidelity. They are looking over, in one case, a court order that we have. Another case, they are reviewing estate documents, and we're not going to the market for probably a month or two. But we are already getting all of the pieces in place so that when we are ready to hit the ground running, we've got all of that done. And I know Fidelity will put the time in, even when they don't have the business yet in hand. They will go that extra mile for me.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, because there is we don't get paid so. There's going to be there's companies, right, where if they're creating an application fee, the ones that are really in it, right, the ones that really matter, the professional ones, we are doing the work without even seeing a dime of anything. We do our due diligence up front. And what you're describing is something I know that we do at Capital Mortgage Funding too. We take a lot of pride in, and obviously the things that you do, what you practice in private comes out in public. And the things that you are doing behind the scenes in advance before you even put something on the market is going to it's setting that proper expectation. It says a lot about you that you're aligning yourself with those people, because then once it actually hits the market, you've you've done your due diligence and then it's a smooth transaction, because there's so many times that as a lender, we're ready to close and everyone's like, hurry up. And then the sellers aren't ready because the title company didn't do their stuff at the beginning of the transaction.
Which they could have done ahead of time. Again, there's not a problem until there is a problem. And we don't really come across too many crazy things on title, but then you do.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden
Probate,
there's a
all the
divorce,
things.
there's probate. I keep naming, Becky, there's death, there's trust. There's a language in there where money might even be going to, I had money going to a foundation. They couldn't do it. And then someone died and it was a complete mess. Stacy.
I have one. We're supposed to close on Tuesday. I have the buyer. And I got a call yesterday that apparently there is a cousin on title that lives in Asia.
Uh-huh.
And, it's not my title company handling the seller side. And so I don't know what's going to happen.
You can't make this stuff up.
No. But Fidelity, but I would have known that the first day with Fidelity.
Oh, yeah.
The day I turned the file in, we would have known who's on title.
All right, we're going to talk about some fun stuff, too, here. Buying a house is so much fun. Again, we put a little thing out there yesterday, Capital Mortgage Funding. We put the fun in funding, and we do because, folks, you're about to sign your name on, I don't know, $1 million, $100,000. It might feel like it's $10 million to you if it's your first house. And it's got to be fun and exciting and enjoyable. So we'll get some of the Snowmageddon stuff out of the way, definitely. And we're going to be taking your calls, too, 248-539-9797. But some of the fun stuff, and I asked you last night, you said, oh, Harvey, I just got back from a show. And I go, oh, how did it go? And you go, ugh. So some of the houses are in move-in condition, and that's really exciting and fun. And then some of them are just really not so much, where your clients are going to be able to make an offer again. So, Becky, maybe we can throw some renovation loan conversation in today's Mortgage and Real Estate Show.
Well, it's going to be extremely competitive. It's already competitive. It's shifted. There was like a 2-week window in January where you could really have some serious negotiation power as a buyer, but it's definitely shifting. And the conversations that I'm hearing, and I know Stacey, you could probably test this, where it's over asking. There's a house in like Lincoln Park. I think it went 20 over asking. I think Northville, Plymouth, those are approaching 40,000 asking, but with guarantees now getting involved. Yep. I'm hearing talks of people waiving private home inspections to kind of, stand out a little bit. And so it's just that old school mentality, or not old school, but like that, like desperation mentality of what's happening to get the offer accepted. And sometimes I feel like if we can just have better conversations up front, I feel like we need to, you want to win, but you also want to protect the buyer. But at the same time, to what Harvey was talking about, maybe buying grandma's house, right? Maybe buying the fixer-upper is going to be the way that some of these buyers, first-time buyers, can get in here and win. So that was a loaded statement, so we can kind of take any direction you want to go with that.
For sure. And I actually have those conversations, especially with the first-time buyers, or the ones that can't give the appraisal guarantee, or they just can't go all in like some of the more seasoned buyers can do. And I call the houses that are I call it HGTV pretty, which I think is kind of funny because I was on HGTV,
where the owner like gathers like squirrel nuts and they make $1 million.
Well, and it's like where they put some subway tile and some gray paint, and it's pretty, and buyers just love that. And those are always bidding wars. And so I try to educate those buyers to, again, look for grandma's house. And I actually call it grandma's house, And I try to say, like, with just a little bit, like some counters, we can refresh the cabinets. Think outside the box. Look for the houses that have been on the market more than 10 days, because those are the ones you're not going to have a bidding war on. And it's working right now so far.
Well, it's about the bones, right?
Yeah.
It's about anyone can put lipstick on something, but if you can find a home that's got good bones and you can see that vision, but it takes a really strong real estate agent to kind of help people see things that they can't see for themselves. Yep. I initially, when I bought my house a couple years ago, I was looking for that turnkey, like, I don't want to do nothing because I'm not a Bob the Builder, and I ended up getting a house that I had to like do everything to. Right. But I got a really good deal, and that's fine. But like popcorn ceiling as far as the eye can see, I had to scrape all that off because it was giving me anxiety.
That's a mess.
I mean, literally, there's nothing in my house that hasn't been touched. But at the same time, I got such a good deal on it that now I was able to make it my own. And, when you're having those conversations, it's helping people see things that they can't see for themselves. And I feel like when you're in line with the right people, you can achieve that vision.
Absolutely.
248-539-9797. We're going to take your calls all morning long. Pat Caputo joins us with sports right after. We've already talked about the spring market is here. Now, you wouldn't think so with the weather outside, but there's that small window of opportunity out there. The competition has already been heating up. And weather conditions might just keep some of these buyers away. There's no doubt about that. The serious smart ones are going to look at houses with your boy, Dan Jackson, Stace. Dan's out there in the hall. He doesn't want to come on the radio. It's okay. Your husband's also a Quest Realty real estate agent. Dan's got 6 showings. Again, he's all around. He's going to be all around Oakland and a little bit of some of the other counties today,
Yes.
too. So he's ready to go. He's got serious buyers in the car.
Yes, and he's kind of my ace in the hole. He came on with me last year, and he's an architect by trade. So when
yay.
people are
You're
struggling
like, "Look at these
with that
windows."
vision, I'm like, I have just the person. He's going to tell us, yes, this wall can come out. So yeah, he had been helping me unofficially for a couple of years, and he got his license, last year.
I didn't know he
Here
was
we
an
are.
architect. Hey, Dan, you
Yes.
got a few extra minutes here? Can you just design this 2,000 square foot house for me up north when you got a
Right.
few extra minutes?
But what you just said, though, yes, this wall can come out. I mean, that is a really profound statement because when, people want the open concept and when you're in a bungalow or colonial, right? And, it looks like these walls can't come down when you find out they really can, that will really open up a space for breathing room. And it's not that expensive it sounds crazy, but to just maybe remove one wall, I mean, it's not that bad in consideration if it's going to allow you to win that offer.
Exactly. And if the house checks every other box, the price, the location, number of bedrooms and bathrooms. So you just have to think outside the box a little bit.
And that's in real estate, the team, having the right team in place, right? We go back to that where when you have an architect and a contractor that you know and trust, that you got the right team there for you.
All righty. Well said, Justin. We are going to have a great show with you again. We got 3 segments of this where we're going to throw a whole bunch of stuff at you. Buying, selling real estate, things that could come up that could jam a transaction up. Got a little bit in there, but the rest is all fun, buying and selling. 248-539-9797. Keep it here. All right, the calls are coming in already. That's right. That when you buy a house, Stacy, maybe you look at the trees, and the snow lands on the trees, the tree lands on the wires. You have no power. That could be messy.
It is so relevant right now, too. In fact, I was showing some houses yesterday, Royal Oak, Ferndale, Berkeley area, and there was one with a massive dead tree very close to the house. And we passed over this house anyway because you could see where the driveway was heaving from these tree roots. And it was kind of in a state of disrepair. But exactly like you said, this kind of weather, that's going to bring that tree down.
There's all sorts of things that come up when you're buying a house, Becky. We'll talk about generators too, but first let's get a little bit of this out of the way. We are brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. You can call us all week long at Capital Mortgage Funding, 1-800-LOW RATE, the best mortgage banker. We are powered by Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, offering you loans in all 50 states, every mortgage program available, including all bond programs, down payment assistance. Call us at Capital Mortgage Funding, 1-800-LOW RATE, the best mortgage banker. And again, Fairway is NMLS 2289 equal housing lender. There you go. I had to get that out of the way.
Yeah, it was like almost like the Micro Machines man there for a second.
But, so this power goes out last night. We got a lot to share with you here this morning. The power goes out last night. Man, I was feeling empathy for immediately everyone who was losing power. I was freaking after 2 hours. We're thinking about the phones and cats and what could happen. And we boxed up, I'm not kidding, we boxed up all the stuff in the fridge. We bring it in the garage. The power goes back on. So heads up to these linesmen, whoever's keeping the power on or whoever's going to put it back on for all the people that are missing the
linemen,
power.
DTE, like all the tree trimmers are getting out there trying to clear all this dead space. Thank you for you doing that because that is a thankless job sometimes because everyone's mad because the power, everyone wants what they want when they want it and no one's happy when they lose power. So thank you to everyone that has been working tirelessly to make sure that people get power restored as quickly as possible.
No doubt. Home ownership is definitely a pathway to building some wealth and everything great about home ownership, generational wealth. You get some equity in your house and doing the right things. It's tough out there a little bit too, Stace. Again, we're sort of talking. I said, well, what listing do you got out there? Why is that house? Sometimes it's a price. Sometimes it's you could just knock down a wall. But this home ownership thing, like even this house, like, let's just talk about a little bit about this nice listing that you got. I mean, this house could go probably this weekend.
Oh, absolutely. Well, yes, other than the snow in the driveway because they're up north and they can't get the driveway plowed right now. But I have a great house, Clarkston Schools, an acre and a half, 2 outbuildings, no HOA, all paved roads, and for $320,000. So there's a great opportunity for someone right there.
And it might need some work. And again, every house is going to need something. That's an unbelievable price range.
It is, yeah.
We talk about it, so affordability here in Michigan, Becky, it is dynamic. It's nothing like anywhere else in the country where we have starter homes still under 200, and then again, going up from there, 2 to 4, 4 to 6. We have all these different price ranges.
What you're saying is true. And we can say this with authority because we are licensed in all 50 states. So we are very, very aware of what is happening nationally, right? So all the news you hear is national. It's, the doom and gloom. They're never going to really tell you anything positive, the news that, because we're unfortunately as a species, we are very reactionary, right? We're going to stand in line just because someone else is standing in line. We don't know why we're standing in line, but we're going to stand in line because you're standing in line, right? So that's just how it goes. But anyway, but what's cool about Michigan is we are very affordable. We're one of the very few, we're one of the very affordable metropolitan cities in the nation. And because of that, you're seeing a lot of people coming from the outside in now because they're gobbling up as much as they can. So the reason why I bring that up is if you are currently a renter and you're getting these rent increases, if you're not realizing that there is benefit in your home ownership, the investor that you're renting from surely does. They do not care what the interest rates are because they know that eventually the rates are going to dip and you're going to be able to they're going to be able to refinance. That is not hindering them from building the real estate portfolio that you are now paying into. So just make sure that if you're getting this rent, the rent increases, if you're paying $1,500, $1,600 in rent, even $900 in rent, start the conversations. I have many first-time home buyers that are currently even trying to buy the homes that they're renting because the sellers are looking to, kind of get rid of that. They want to just make their profits, whatever it is. So start the conversation. You cannot start the conversation sooner because if it's not if, it's when. It's not if it doesn't work out for you now, we're going to figure out how we're going to get there. What is it going to take? And we're going to align you with the right people like Stacy and Justin to make sure that you have full circle, the education piece, because I'm really surprised that there's people that have, this is their third home.
Yeah.
I didn't work with them on their first 2 and they still don't really have any idea about the process.
They're missing out if they don't get that educational
Correct.
piece. Stace.
Yeah. Oh, I completely agree. And I would always say to make sure, and I would always recommend Capital Mortgage Funding, but make sure you're working with a mortgage company that is going to take the time to educate you And we'll be completely transparent because maybe it's not the right time and you take these couple steps and then come back in 6 months and it's a completely different picture. And if your mortgage company is not having those conversations with you or your realtor is not having those conversations, that maybe you should do these steps first. Like, let's wait. You need to make sure you're with someone that's looking out for your financial future, not just a sale. And I would say, without a doubt, I would always recommend my clients to reach out to Capital Mortgage
we appreciate
Funding for that.
And thank you so much. And that's why we send you people.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
I often say that, we are experienced professionals creating experiences for people and our clients. And even what you said just before the break about how the work that Justin was doing behind the scenes for your seller and the listing, that is you creating experience without them even knowing it, right? That is the both of you working together to ensure that once we actually start getting into the motions of things, that it is going to be a seamless transaction. Therefore, they're going to be your clients for life because no one cares what we do behind the scenes at the end of the day. They do not care. Nope. All they care is that we close and they had an amazing experience.
That's easy enough. 248-539-9797. That's the age-old question, whether to rent or buy a home. Always a multitude of different things that can pop up when you're thinking about renting, home ownership. Again, we always talk about the positive things, that this home ownership thing, that's right. These little obstacles. You think like, maybe I need 20% down or I need all this money. You don't.
You don't. Say it again.
You don't need it. Right. There's a lot of down payment assistance. There's a lot of 3% conventional, 3.5% down FHA. And Becky, hey, how about that? It sort of hit some national news. FHA lowered a little bit of their MIP, a little bit of savings out there for our FHA buyers are going to be buying some homes. And again, FHA, a great way to get into your first home.
Yes, you do not need 20%. I want to just reiterate that. And FHA is an amazing vehicle to get you where you're trying to go. If whether you're a little bit overextended, let's just say there's 2 people on the house, but we're only using one of your income. FHA gives you more grace when it comes to your overall debt. And maybe you came out of bankruptcy, maybe 2020 with you not being essential. Maybe it was a little bit rough on you. So we're not going to hold that against you. And what's really cool is what Harvey brought up was they reduced the overall MIP. And that gave a huge, huge shot in the arm to affordability. So anytime that we can offset what's happening in the economy with higher rates, with a different way to create affordability for our buyers, that's key. And what they did was everyone got a raise. So now you got, what was an extra like $800, as far as like...
We did some quick math. On 100,000, we came up with $62.74. I might
overall,
be off a couple dollars.
Per year, I was going off of
there
the
you go.
year,
Yeah,
yes.
so $784, right? Like on a $100,000 loan, $784 savings. $200,000 loans, double it, triple it again. And FHA goes all the way up to the 65% of, what is it now?
417, yep. Or
okay.
715.
All right, so it's like something like $472,030. So again, look, FHA, you can get into a house. It could be $400,000. Folks, you could have a foreclosure or bankruptcy. Call Capital Mortgage Fund and we'll share it with you off the air and we'll find out what your situation is.
And that goes to say, too, that we are in an appreciating market. So I want to kind of bring it into something else with you guys, right? So the fact that the conventional loan limits have been increased, the FHA loan limits have been increased, that shows that we are in an appreciating market. So you hear a lot of pushback, I'm sure, from buyers. I'm going to wait till July. I'm going to wait till the housing market bubble happens and all the things. But these things that are telltales, we're not in the same, it is not 2008. Right. So sellers, it's maybe not going to be 2020. It's going to be pretty close because it is going to get competitive. But buyers, it is not 2028 or 2008. And I want you guys to kind of touch on that a little bit because it's, it's really the best time to buy is when it works for you, obviously. But the time is now, truly.
It's funny. I was actually thinking about that yesterday. And, we keep hearing on the news, like, housing sales are plummeting, prices are plummeting. They're not.
They're not.
They're not. And, I want to just tell people what you hear on the news is usually at least 1 to 2 months behind, first of all. Mm-hmm. Secondly, it's a national snapshot almost always. So what's going on in Idaho or California, it doesn't affect us. We are our own market. But more importantly, like even for sellers, because we are in a low inventory situation right now, which is why it's the seller's market. Sellers need to realize that we're not losing value. We're not jumping up 20% a year like we did during COVID. We're still appreciating. And even if, like I read something yesterday with National Association of Realtors, that the average decline was between 3 and 5% expected for 2023. That doesn't mean you lose all of those gains we've had for the last several years.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, normally we were only appreciating maybe 5-7%. So you're still 20, 30, 40% higher than you were pre-COVID. You might just go back a little bit or you might stay flat, but the value is still there. And for buyers that are waiting for that crash, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. So to what you're saying is the same house that you, or if you wanted to, so you don't buy the house that you're looking at today, but that same house this time in 6 months or even a year from now is going to be more money.
Yes,
that is what we're
absolutely.
saying is we're still in an appreciating market. You might not be seeing a 20% appreciation, but part of that was artificially inflated because people were throwing money at these homes. They didn't care if it was a $400,000 house and they had to go to 450. They were going to do whatever they took to win. So this is still a very much appreciating market that we're in.
I'm looking forward to July and August where we could
It's gonna
tell
be
people,
nuts.
hey, folks, guess what? Those homes did go up like we
We're
said.
like, go,
Yes.
yeah, I want to see the receipts. Roll back the tape.
All right, keep it here. 248-539-9797. Come and join us. We are back live here. It's the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate and Business Show brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. I'm Harvey Freed. She's Becky Elliott with Capital Mortgage Funding. Stacey Taylor, Quest Realty. Justin Bankston, Fidelity National Title. We're going to get into some title stuff here,
Oh,
Josh.
yeah.
You're just not a pretty face here. We didn't just bring you on for your looks or anything like that. And you're in all 50 states. We're going to get into that a little bit. Running around town, having notaries that can go close your transaction in all 50 states. Sometimes a seller, we had that even last week, sellers are out of state. It's important to have somebody that you can really rely on. So I'll let you go there a little bit with it.
Well, I appreciate that. So Fidelity National Title being a leader provider in title insurance, we are in all 50 states. So people come and work with us. They often reference that term mail away closing. And I'm like, what's that? We're going to have a notary. We're going to have a notary come to you in that state. They're going to have a printer in their back seat. So they're gonna come to you. They're gonna make it happen. It's important for us to make that part of the transaction smooth for our consumers because we're the last people that they see. We're the last professional to get them into that home and exchange those keys.
I love that. When you say mail away, it's like I instantly think of like the pigeon with the little script attached to their little ankle. Like, bye-bye, bird. I hope you make it.
We hope you make it back is the important part.
Right, with all the documents signed and
Yes,
right, and you
exactly.
can follow up on it. We're going to get into a little bit of the quality of the house, and I'm going to throw this out there first because I wrote it down anyways. Today's hurdles are educating the borrowers. I really feel that way still. We're up against a lot of huge companies that are sort of run by less than qualified individuals. Might have just got into the loan officer business, maybe real estate business. The advertising plan that they have was to de-educate you. I don't know, uneducate you. That talk about other things. The commercials are odd to me. It's just like if you folks want to get serious, if you're listening to the show again, I want you to reach out to some real mortgage professionals. Again, we're not the only ones in town, but we're definitely the people that you should at least contact. Capital Mortgage Funding, 1-800-LOW-RATE. Successful ownership, it definitely takes all this education. It really does. 50% of the folks are ready to go. 50% aren't. Becky, I got to get those other 50% leveled up.
Well, it's because they don't know. Like, you don't know what you don't know. And a lot of the people that are on the fence is because they're afraid. People are afraid to fail. People are afraid to be, not have their dreams come true, that kind of thing. And I just talked to someone last night where she was so nervous. She's been renting the same property for 9 years. And I just, we had this real heart-to-heart conversation for like 45 minutes. And then we got into like, okay, this is where you're at. And she actually could totally buy the house. But she was so scared to death of that failure. And what Harvey's alluding to is the education piece is everything. If someone is giving you a pre-approval in 5 minutes and they're not telling you what to expect a year from now when your taxes are changing, you need to immediately reevaluate that relationship if you're listening to this, because there's so much that goes into it. We are setting you up not just right now in 5 minutes, but we're looking down the road for you. Raise your gaze, right? You have to understand like what is going to be happening a year from now. And all these things come into play with that education piece when we're talking to our buyers. I mean, I will spend a lot of time and do my due diligence up front. And I know everyone in this room does that because it matters, because this, in 9 out of 10 times, like you're talking about, home ownership is the biggest investment of most people's lives. Whether it's your first house or your second house, or you're trying to build your real estate portfolio. I mean, I talked to someone about, it's her first time buying the house. Her husband, they got married here. He owned a house. And now they're talking about what is the game plan to acquire 10 properties in 5 years. And we laid it out.
That's cool.
But like, those are great conversations by really getting into like the curiosity why, instead of assuming what someone's trying to do, asking.
Education gives you that confidence piece. We always add those two words together. Ignorance in everyday life, something as important as real estate, man, that can lead to some serious financial problems. Again, you raise your gaze. I love that stuff. Hey, do that in yoga tomorrow. She'll be bringing that up.
In the downward dog, yes.
And then, I had my cousin call me up and he went from, hey, Harvey, what's going on with the rates? He's talking about pulling some equity out and adding a first and a second mortgage. We somehow went from like this lowering his payment to actually, he's just going to keep his mortgage. He has a 3 1/4. We did an amortization chart for him. Again, I like writing mortgages, Becky, but if we can find another solution that might make more sense, you're going to hear that from the professionals, not from the script readers.
Oh,
the script readers, folks. I don't know what's going on out there.
Well, if you go off, if you're giving them a response, it goes off like the script. It's almost like the Austin Powers, like Robo Girl bots or whatever. Their head starts exploding. They don't know how to like deviate from the script. It's crazy. But to that point, it's about everyone's situation is different. And, we can talk for hours and hours about that. But someone that has the 3.5% interest rate, I had a gentleman, he's trying to buy a house. He's actively looking, but he does not want his credit pulled, right? So it's someone that we got a hand on and we're letting him do his thing. And so we're finally talking to him and asked me, hey, what are the rates, by the way? And I hit him with it. They're in the sixes.
Yeah.
Dude, they're in the sixes. And
Totally.
he was like, holy crap. I'm like, is that a bad holy crap? Is it a good holy crap? Is it a surprise holy crap? And he was like, there's only one kind of crap. And I was like, okay, well, he's like, my rate's at 3.25. And I was like, well, let me just think about this. I'm like, you probably attained that in 2019, maybe early 2020. He was like, it was 2019. I'm like, okay, because we have a handle on it. We know when the rates are doing what they're doing. We also know we're going to see that leverage and it's going to be done. But what we spoke about was how you're going to leverage your current property, keep it, retain it, make it a rental, and then use that equity or not the equity, but you can buy another home.
There's something so powerful, Stacy, with having the knowledge and something that you're doing. When I'm driving the car and I don't know where I'm going, thank God for that Waze and stuff. Everything's powerful when you know what you're doing, that confidence.
Absolutely. And to keep going back to that same point, I can't stress enough to make sure the people that you're trusting with your biggest financial investment are people that will have these conversations with you. And, they're going to give you different options. Like Becky said, it's going to make more sense. Keep that house as a rental. And, then you're set up for more financial success down the road. And, or like Harvey said, maybe it doesn't make sense right now to buy or to refinance. Look at another option. And if you're not working with a team of professionals that give you those choices and those hard truths, even if, we lose a sale or something, those are the people that you have to be aligned with. I mean, I can't stress it enough. It is your biggest financial investment, and these people need to be available to spend an hour with you. I know I have a file with Harvey. He drove out probably an hour to sit and literally by hand take an application with this young buyer. And I don't know anyone else that does that. Those matter because she had so many questions, and he was able to assure her. And
we're going to be hugging it out on Friday, I think.
Yes, we are.
Hugging it out either Thursday or Friday. I'm pumped for that closing. I don't want to cut you off on that, but I did. But sorry about that.
I'll cut you off real quick.
Thanks.
I will say this about Harvey is I see a lot of people all the time, and Harvey literally is probably one of the best LOs I've ever been in the vicinity.
Becky.
He is really,
You don't mean that.
he takes a lot of, you take a lot of pride in your work. You're very passionate and you know your stuff. He puts together clean files, and there's very few people that I will proudly be in line with. And someone like to sit next to you every Saturday, like, listen, you're top notch, because we go
Thanks,
face to
Beck.
face. We make the drives, and there's very few people out there that do that.
That's how I feel about you. 248-539-9797. Either call and say something nice about us or not. It's the Hardcore Mortgage Show, again, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. We do take your calls. There'll be sports following us. We got to get your man cave all put together, and, of course, your she shed. So that way you can watch these up-and-coming great events that are going to be happening. We got March Madness happening really soon. So there's a lot of excitement with sports. And, of course, spring training's kicking off, and I'm a big baseball junkie. So we're all excited. We mix in home ownership with sports here in Detroit because that's what we do. We are either buying on a golf course or we're looking to buy on the water, and if we're not, we're in a subdivision. Well, we got a little boat and we're going to go fishing on the water. So we got a lot of cool things going on here. Savvy buyers are doing some really fun things too, Beck. I want to bring that up. I got a good group of young people that have bought these homes right. They got those low interest rates. Now they're talking about stepping it up, having bigger families now. Start with one kid. All of a sudden the house got real small because got another baby on the way. And most recently, I never expected this. And the guy says to me, Harvey, I'm keeping this house. And I just love that now that when people are opening their eyes, they're saying, wait a minute, here's a window. Again, this is what you're up against if you're a first-time buyer is the families out there in the houses, there's not going to be a lot of inventory. We're pushing that narrative because that's what's going on. The smart buyers are going to hang on to it, and they'll rent you the house if, and you ain't going to be able to buy it.
If I could, so I'll give you everyone a little nugget here. Like if I could go back in my 24-year-old self buying my first house, I would buy a duplex. FHA, minimum down.
I'm in line.
Someone is paying me rent in the next unit above, whatever it is, and then in a year, I move out of that house, I get my step-up house, and now I'm already starting to build my real estate portfolio. So if that's the way to go if you're so inclined to do something like that. But multi-units are getting gobbled up right now, and there's ways to do it, but it's that time that's the game plan and all that stuff. And also I want to talk about, you were bringing up, the ones that are buying that, they want to do this investment stuff, but then the house isn't great, right? How you can get around that. And, we offer renovation loans. We do, you can talk about your step-up buyers, your real estate, your investors, but there's going to be something wrong with some of these properties, right? And it's very important that you actually get in there and you have a private home inspection, because I got a couple investors that are coming in from California. gobbling everything they can in Detroit right now. But some of them have some foundation issues, but they're not afraid of it because they have their people in place and they're going to get in there and they're going to start fixing some stuff. So start the conversations.
Well, I just want to kind of touch on that again. So many people don't know that you can do that with FHA. Like you can buy that duplex, you can live in half of it with FHA. And I mean, I probably have that conversation once or twice a month with people. And like you said, the duplexes are hard to find right now.
They are because people know that now.
Yes. But I mean, what a game changer for someone. You know, what a way to get that, you know, to just start off on the right foot, you know, like you said, go back to our 24-year-old self and do that.
I mean, listen, like I want people to be better than I had my experiences, right? Because we only know what we know. And when I was 24, like I wasn't around the right people, right? But now if I'm the smartest person in the room, I'm trying to get out of that room and get into a better room, right? It's always about the next level and seeing things that you can't. I didn't see at that time. So I feel like part of my mission is to open up the doors for other people, speak to the person that I used to be in the room and help people take their lives to the next level before I was able to.
All right, we got so much more to share with you here. It's only 9:41. We're with you till 10 o'clock, and we got Pat Caputo coming up with sports. Keep it here on 97.1 The Ticket, 248-539-9797. We'll be back. All right, 9:45 back here live in Detroit. It's the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. We are powered by Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, NMLS 2289, Equal Housing Lender. You can always catch us at 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. That's where you're going to find experienced people that are willing to help you on every single program. I'm Harvey Freed. She's Becky Alley. He's Eminem. She's Stacey Taylor.
Don't miss your opportunity.
Justin Bankston
One
joins us
shot.
too. Justin, it's really fun because you're a young dad, and I love what you're doing. You're out near me. I didn't even know that you live out near me, and we like the water. Again, It was always my dream to have the kids on the water. I remember having like the little baby things on the pontoon boats and stuff, but really a nice lifestyle here. But again, home ownership. You started with like this first house when you were 19, and then you segue that into the next house. Now you're fixing up something. That's what's fun about home ownership. Just being a young dad, and really, it's easy to become a homeowner.
It is, and it's nice to have the right people in your corner to educate you along the way. If I wouldn't have had my qualified mortgage person and real estate agent at that time, I wouldn't have been able to have that opportunity because I just didn't know what was available to me.
And you weren't even in the title business when you first did that?
I started in title in high
Holy
school.
moly.
So I met some great people really young in life. And
Wow, good for
I'm
you.
blessed for all those relationships and the people I've got to know over the last 20 years.
We got
Yeah.
tons still to share with you. Let's sneak in a couple things on the mortgage side, Becky, because there's all this equity in Southeast Michigan. And these real estate agents, right, they walked in those houses 2-3 years ago. Stacey Taylor's one of them. And you can call her back if you want to thank her. Yeah, now you're sitting on $30,000, $40,000, $80,000, $100,000 more in equity on that $250,000 house you bought, on that $200,000 house you bought. But again, some people have that PMI thing. Becky, PMI falls off. You can get into a house with 3% down conventional. You got that Home Possible program. There's so many different ways you can make home affordable, home ownership affordable.
So people trip about PMI, which I don't understand it. So let me just kind of paint a picture. $30 a month, it might save you $20,000 of your liquid cash. So if you can't afford, I would rather have my assets chilling in the bank, collecting interest, and put minimum down than I have to on my mortgage, because that is going to be a naturally appreciating asset for me in the mortgage side of things right now. We are still in a very much appreciating market. What's 3%, 5%, and that's more that you're getting in your portfolio as far as your 401ks right now, because I don't even look at mine anymore. Stop it. Like, I just don't want to look at it. But the point that I'm going to is that $30 a month is going to keep that extra cash in your bank account, because once you pull it out of wherever you're pulling it out of, like, that's it. It's a part of your equity there.
Beck, let's call it $60 or $70 a month. Let's just
even.
go there and call it $60 or $70
higher
a
price
month.
point, yep.
So let's use a $300,000 home too. So if you can say 5%, so instead of just putting 10% down, that's $30,000, 5% down, $15,000. Now you've got $15,000, Stacey Taylor, to fix up the house. $15,000 stays
Absolutely.
in your account. And maybe it cost you, because of the program we got you, let's even call it $75 a month. I like that deal, because you cannot borrow $15,000 at $75 a month.
Yeah, I did it for myself. So when I bought my house, again, I don't know if I said it on air or not, but like, I literally have a house that I bought and I had to do everything to it. So I intentionally put less down than I could, because I knew I was going to have to fix everything in the house or totally redo it and make it my own. And because I put less down and because I made the modifications, I was able to boost up my equity and then naturally take that money right back out and then refinance at a lower rate, because the way the timing of everything all works. So it's all about timing. You don't have to put the 20% down. Let the things do the work for you. Let your money work for you. But part of that is, and Justin's shaking his head because he knows this, is let your people educate you on that, because you don't know. And if someone is not having these kind of conversations with you, you wouldn't know otherwise.
Justin, I'll
Date
jump
the
in
rate,
with
marry
this.
the house.
Yeah.
Oh, you said it a million times. We'll go with
Divorce
that one.
rent.
Yes, divorce the
Divorce
rent.
rent.
For sure. All right, that PMI thingy falls off at 78% equity. So your lender's going to drop it anyways once you get to 22% equity in the house, which isn't too far away. You can pay it down. Also, you can request to cancel a PMI if you know your neighborhood's selling for a lot more. You've been in the house for over a year, the neighborhood's selling. You can call up your lender and say, look, I'm not refinancing. I'm going to hang on to this great rate I got. Can you cancel a PMI? Let them make you the deal. Sometimes they'll just do it automatically, charge you a small fee, maybe an appraisal, maybe none of the above. And they might just agree with you and say, hey, you've been paying your mortgage on time, and lenders do that. This PMI thing, Becky, can fall off.
PMI is your friend. It's not your enemy. It will literally help you get where you're going. But again, it hits that game plan. What are your goals? Everyone's situation is different. I also want to bring up, what do you do about the house that you really, really like, but you don't have the money to fix it up? We offer renovation loans. If it's a house, it's your forever home and you're trying to get into it, but you know you don't, maybe, even if you put the 3% down, you still don't have that extra $15,000 that Harvey was describing to get yourself a new kitchen, bathroom, whatever it is. Again, call us at Capital Mortgage Funding. We have all the renovation loans that you can do that, and we can educate you on the steps, how you can do that, and how you can take grandma's house or the fixer-upper house and elevate it to the next level for you, and then build your real estate portfolio from that using nominal money out of your pocket, as long as you can qualify with the after repair amount. So all of it's relevant, but everyone's situation is different. So start the conversations and let's educate you. It's free.
All right, rural loans could be unbelievable program for first-time home buyers. USDA loans are really easy to come by. Property eligibility is in play. Income limits are in play. Credit score could be as low as 620. So if you're listening in here, you're not right in the heart of Oakland County, northern Oakland County, all of Washtenaw, I believe, all of Livingston, any of the Genesee, these counties on the, on anything in the downriver area, Monroe counties, all the counties down there too, USDA loans are in play for a lot of families. So what does that mean to you? Well, you can buy a house for very, very little money. I mean, you're talking like really just paying your closing cost and prepays. They finance the 1% USDA fee is upfront. They add it to the transaction. You don't have to come out of pocket for that. That PMI thing that we talk about so often is 0.35%, Becky. So that lower number. USDA loans, call the experts at Capital Mortgage Funding. We'll get you hooked up with that. VA, FHA, VA's got some new. They dropped their VA funding fee, Becky. Latest cutting news out there in the mortgage world. The announcement came Thursday. The Veterans Administration is cutting their VA funding fee to 2.15%. That's 0.15 lower than 2.3%. Saves you money. And a little salute out there, as always, to all our hardworking veterans that are back in the game here. And, of course, all the responders here, first responders, of course, all across Michigan. We got special programs for anybody that here is working, any of the blue-collar workers here.
If your mind isn't, if you're listening and your head isn't exploding with the information that literally like oozes out of our minds on the constant basis, like literally when we are pre-approving someone, we are like, so everything he just rattled off without even having to look at a piece of paper is literally what is going through our like mind catalog when we're instantly trying to identify, because it isn't soup du jour, right? It's not Dumb and Dumber. We're like, oh, what's your flavor? But like, I'll have that, right? Everyone, you have to make sure that you're getting the flavor that works best for you. I don't like chocolate. I'm a vanilla girl, right? But whatever. But the point is that we have a mortgage program to suit your needs.
Well, and again, it's all a part of being aligned with those people that have the knowledge and will take the time to educate you on that. And I have those same conversations with my new buyers. I have an email I send out where I collect some information about what they're looking for. And they almost always I get back like, okay, I have to have two bathrooms. I want an open floor plan, modern kitchen, fenced yard. I want a ranch. So I don't just take that information, because I know deep down there's more to it. Probably 1.5 bathrooms would work. Probably a 1.5 story house with all first floor living works. So I take the time, because often we find that perfect home and it was not on that list that they told me, but I took the time for that. And the same could be said, like you said, there's those companies where you just go online, you fill out an application, you get a pre-approval. They didn't talk and have a conversation about some different options, where you're actually having the conversation, taking the time to see what else might be out there. Maybe it is those doctor's loans, first responder loans, things like that. So I just can't say enough. If you aren't having those conversations with your professionals, shop around. It's so important.
Speaking of shopping around, let's do a consumer advocacy here. So we're going to talk about how to stop I call it the bottom feeder effect. So when your credit is pulled, there are some companies that buy what's called trigger leads with the credit bureaus. You can't do anything about it. And we're trying to do it something on an individual level, adding yourselves to the do not call us. So what happens is when you have your credit pulled by anybody, it triggers a bottom feeder effect. They don't know what you're doing. They just see that there was a mortgage inquiry. So it just triggers hundreds hundreds of people. I don't know where they come from. They crawl out the sewers. They fall from the sky. I don't know, but it's ad nauseum, right? And, so as a courtesy, if you want to know how to add yourself to the do not call list to stop these kind of unsolicited calls, that is a natural conversation that we're having in the beginning, and we will share that information with you immediately.
Becky, it's like you Google or you click on beef Wellington. You got Gordon Ramsay's beef Wellington recipe, and all of a sudden you're getting strangers calling you that are throwing that slop around Taco Bell. God bless Taco Bell. No offense to those guys either. But yeah, it's a little bit different when you're about to serve yourself a Michelin star dinner, and again, you got a bunch of bozos calling you up talking about flipping a burger or throwing a hot dog on the
grill.
grill.
It's a disservice because even like just we were
no
talking
offense
about
to hot dogs either, by the way.
No offense, but the bottom feeders are doing a disservice because we have to use our phones every day, and someone like Justin who literally has to answer all the calls because he doesn't know, and he was getting just bombarded with these people.
Hundreds of calls over a week.
Yeah, like it's nuts. It's a disservice, and I feel like it should be criminal. So we try to do things on an individual level until we can stop it on a national level and bigger than us. But so add yourself to the do not call list. Hit me up on my Facebook. I'll show you how to do that. Anyone that is having a conversation with me anyway, I'm already educating them on how to take those steps. But do yourself a favor and stop it.
Stace, let's do a little quick real estate too. You're getting ready to list that house, and you're going to hire a great agent like Stacey Taylor at Quest Realty. What are a couple of the things that you should really do besides you getting you in there and hearing your opinions?
Well, when I meet with a seller the first time, I always say, first of all, we'll talk on the phone a little bit, but I need to come over. I need an hour, and I have them walk me through the property, telling me things they like, things they've updated. But I have a checklist that I give them, and we go room by room. This is what you need to do. Some are suggestions, some are like hard yes or no. You have to do this if we're going to sell your house. And I have a lot of other vendor partners I work with. I can recommend landscapers. I can recommend painters. I give a staging consultation if we need to pack up some of their things and bring in an actual staging company with staged pieces. We do that. But again, we're getting away from the time where anyone, with no experience can just put in a for sale sign and put your house on the market and bring you multiple offers. We're starting to get away from that. You need a person that's going to actually educate you to get top dollar.
This is a skill-based market.
Absolutely.
You have to have skills.
All right, we got too much more to share with you, but we're going to do it next Saturday here. So we'll be back. We'll join you next Saturday on the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate and Business Show. Want to thank Justin Bankston, Fidelity National Title, one of the great title companies here in Southeast Michigan and all over the country. Stacey Taylor, Quest Realty, one of the best out there. Love working with Stacey. And of course, we'll give it Dan a little bit. He drove in with you. Dan Jackson's out there.
He
too.
drove me
He's
here.
a real
The
estate agent.
architect.
And Dan's showing like 6 houses this afternoon. Get off the roads there. All right, knock the snow off your windows so you can see where you're going. And real quick, I'm Harvey Freed. She's Becky Ellie. Find us at Capital Mortgage Fund. And we got Pat Caputo coming up with sports. Keep it here.